Hey guys, in this video I'll be using Process Hacker to analyze this adware that I've downloaded from Malware Bazaar. So the aim of this video is to show how can Process Hacker detected adware or can provide an observation that this is an adware. So first we'll run it as an admin. So it requires installations. So when we click on next and install, as you can see here, Process Hacker has detected there's a sub-processes from this adware. And the next step, we can see that it was also there is a service created called WBSVC, which is a web bar service. So now let's launch this web bar application or adware. Now we can see that this has been installed, and then let's start with our analysis. First of all, we'll start with the service that it has generated. So as you can see, this web bar or adware has executed this WBSVC service, which is created specifically for the web bar. So it used an executable file by as an executable file located in a potentially suspicious path under program files, which isn't typical for standard software installations that require service creations. So service created by Adware, I think it's often run persistently and can restart upon system reboot. Moving on to the next step, we can see that this web bar also created a sub-process called iSiteHost, which is an executable file as well. So this executable file runs from I think it runs from a temporary folder, which is a common tactic used by Adware to execute tasks without easy detections, which is the use of temp directory for running processes that perform network activities, or it could display ads, which is highly unusual for legitimate software and indicative of potential malicious intent. Moving on to the token privileges associated with this iSiteHost, it has enabled settings for potentially dangerous actions such as impersonation, like this one, impersonation privilege. So this allows the process to impersonate other user accounts, which can be exploited to execute further malicious activities under the disguise of legitimate users. Such capabilities are unnecessary for legitimate applications, but are valuable for adware seeking to extend, I think, its influence on our system. Moving on to the memory section, this iSiteHost.exe include a various system DLL, which might be standard. However, I would assume that the context here suggests that they could be used to hook into system functions or manipulate system behavior. So this technique can be used by Adware to intercept or inject code, monitor user actions, or modify network communication. So I think the combination of running from temporary location, manipulating service creation to ensure persistence, and possessing elevated privileges paints a clear picture of why this web bar is flagged as a suspicious adware. So these behavior are characteristics of unwanted programs that aim to alter user experience, display persistent advertising, and compromise user privacy, like without explicit consent or awareness. So now let's use this send to section and send to Jotty to see the result of this web bar from other antivirus software. So now let's click on this. So now let's see the result of what Jotty malware scan have shown for our webbar.exe. So the results have presented us with a virus response from different antivirus engines, highlighting an essential aspect of this malware detections. From what I can see is like Dr. Web, Fortinet, Icarus, and Kaspersky have identified as an adware, suggesting there's an association with an conduit adware, family known for browser hijacking and unwanted toolbar installations. I think Icarus showed this as a PUA, which is potentially unwanted application, indicating that it may be engaged in an undesirable behavior such as intrusive advertising or unauthorized settings or change. This variability in detection shows the difference in how antivirus tools assess files and based on their proprietary algorithm. Each engine has its own approach to balancing sensitivity and specificity. Overall, I want to discuss the recent analysis of this web software on the system, which we identify using Process Hacker. So Process Hacker has showed us that WebBar installed a service called WBSVC to run continuously in the background. It also launches a sub-process named iSiteHost, which runs from a temporary location. I guess it's typically used for temporary files and not legitimate application. The key findings here is there are unusual file location. The fact that iSite hosts exe operates from a temporary folder is a red flag. Legitimate software usually runs from more secure and permanent location. And then persistent operation includes like this service ensures that WebBar it keeps running even after reboot, which is common for software that wants to maintain its presence without user intervention. And lastly, the privilege and behavior. Using Process Hacker, it helps us observe the privileges assigned to iSite host. The software had more permissions than typical applications, including ability that could potentially intercept user data and impact system security, which is set impersonate privilege here. More than that, when we examining the WebBar component and behavior, we learned that it could track user activities, gather data without clear consent, posing significant risk. This is from this bar itself. If we enter like login credentials, I'm sure it's gonna track and send it to the hackers themselves. The ability of this web bar to alter system settings and run undetected in the background also suggests that it could be used to deploy more malicious software or allow like unauthorized access to our systems. So for our incident management team, the discovery of this web bar through Process Hacker has highlighted the need for vigilant monitoring and swift action to protect the system from potential threats.